Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 2025 SEC Football Championship Game Zoom and press conference. We'll begin shortly. Georgia coach Kirby Smart will be joining us shortly. For those on the Zoom, your lines have been muted. If you do have a question, we invite you to use the raise the hand function. When I call your name, you will then need to unmute your line to ask your question. You will not be able to unmute your line until your name is called, and I'll allow you to do that. So if you do have a question, please use the raise hand function for Kirby Smart, and then we'll be followed by Kalen DeBoer of the University of Alabama, and finally by Commissioner Greg Sankey of the SEC. So welcome. We'll begin here in a few moments. Again, for those of you just joining us, if you would like to ask a question for our coaches today, you can use the raise hand function. When I call on your name, you will then hit the line to unmute and ask your question to coach, and then we will continue through that. We'll begin here shortly.
About 40 seconds to you.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the 2025 SEC Football Championship Game pre-press conference. Today, we are first joined by the head coach of the Georgia Bulldogs, the visiting team in Saturday's game, ranked number 3 in the country, 11-1, 7-1 in the SEC. We first will take an opening statement from Coach Smart, and then we will take your questions. Again, if you have a question, use the raise hand function, and we will unmute your line. Coach, congratulations on making it to the championship game. We'll start with your opening statement.
Thank you, guys. I first want to thank the SEC for such a great, tremendous event. It's been an awesome opportunity for us to participate in this game many times. It's not something that we take lightly. It's one of the best venues and most viewed games in every entire football season. And I think the caliber of the two teams this year is indicative of what it is every year. You've got two great programs that both played really tough in-conference schedules, and will battle for an SEC championship in Atlanta on Saturday. So our guys are excited. We're honored to be there, and got tremendous respect for Alabama, Coach DeBoer, the job he's done, the gauntlet his players went through in terms of the games they had to play, and them earning their right to play as well.
Thank you, Coach Smart. Again, if you have a question, please use the raise hand function. We will unmute your line, and then you will need to unmute your line as well. Our first questions will come from Connor Riley of Dog Nation. Connor?
Yeah, Kirby, just signing day yesterday. What did you think of the class that you guys were able to bring in, and how that helped meet your needs?
Yeah, really excited about that group. It was kind of anticlimactic like it normally is nowadays on signing day, and our prep was focused on Alabama. So it's a tough day organizationally because you got a lot going on at the same time. But very very pleased, excited about the guys we've got. I always look at it as you look in reverse, and you look back, 3 years from now, and you really value that class then. And nowadays, more of these kids have to be ready to play. I look at our practice yesterday, our practice the day before, and the number of true freshmen that are in the two deep is probably higher than it's ever been in my 10 years here. And I got a feeling that's here to stay. So that's saying that those guys we signed yesterday would be factors in our depth chart next year, and they got to be ready to play faster because you just don't have as many people.
And then 2 of the last 3 years, you've had a quarterback prospect flip away and ultimately sign with another school right before signing day. How has that impacted maybe how you guys have gone about trying to recruit quarterbacks and secure those long-term relationships where they follow through with them?
I don't think it changes at all. It's part of the process. I mean, that's not completely abnormal for kids to change their mind. We've known for both kids a long time that there's a possibility of that. I mean, it's a commitment. It's not a signee. So that you have plans in place. We talked all along, multiple years. It's not like it's surprising. I don't think that changes how you recruit. I think you still recruit the same way you recruit. You just make sure you have a plan in place if it happens.
Thanks, Kirby.
Thank you, Connor. If you have a question, please use the raise hand function in the Zoom, and we will get to your question. Once we call on you, we will then unmute your line to ask your question. Our next question will come from Jeremy Johnson of On3. Jeremy.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, in this game last year, Gunner was forced into play, and you know he got some reps during the year. But you kind of look at Ryan Puglisi, and Ryan Montgomery. Can you kind of tell me where they are? If they were forced into something similar, and how have they kind of leaned on Gunner? Having the experience that he had last year.
Yeah, I don't know that they've leaned on Gunner. Gunner's doing his own prep, right? Gunner does a great job preparing for each game, and he prepared last year so that when his number was called, he was ready to go perform. Those guys are their own individual selves. They sit in the same room with Gunner, and they listen and they learn. They take notes. We get not a lot of action, but we get enough action with them that should they have to go in, they got to be prepared. Quarterback coaches do a tremendous job of putting those guys on the board, asking them questions. They get reps. They don't get as many reps as Gunner, and I think that would be the case all across the country. Is how well do those guys prepare? Because you never know, when your number is going to get called.
Just a quick follow-up. Obviously, you kind of mentioned some of those guys, those young guys that are in here too deep. A lot of them have had to play, and they're about a year into your program. What do you kind of see out of that group of young players, the freshmen, and then the young true sophomores that are going into their junior year? What are you kind of looking at when you're looking at them developmentally, especially at this point of the year where you're about to play for an SEC championship and potentially go into a playoff run? Those guys, are have an opportunity to be a big part of that. So, like, what are you looking for developmentally from those guys?
Growth. I think it's really important. We played a clip from a former coach who talked about guys not being prepared, and maybe not preparing the right way when their numbers were called. I would never want to feel that way. I don't want any regret. And you learn through real experiences. And these kids, whether they're freshmen or sophomores, they're in a long season. They're in a longer season than they've ever been in. They've been in physical practices more than they ever have been. They've had a higher expectation put on them in terms of meetings and volume of knowledge than they've ever been in. So, we've challenged them, and now it's time to reap some of the rewards from guys having to step up and play, from different guys being injured, different guys being out. You just don't know when your number is going to be called. So that's why we try so hard to two-spot things, two-spot walks, grow kids, challenge kids, put kids in and put them in an environment where they got to respond, because we just don't know who that might be.
Thanks, Coach.
Next, we'll go to Mark Weiser of the Athens Banner Herald. Mark, go ahead.
Kirby, I know Drew Bobo is listed as out for Saturday. Do you expect he will miss the rest of the season? And what exactly is he dealing with injury-wise?
Mark, I'd be speculating because I still don't know, determined what we're going to do with the injury he has. And until we determine that, I would rather not comment on it.
And how do you feel about your center position heading into this game? What have you seen this week as those guys prepare to fill in?
Yeah, we've got a lot of guys that have worked at that position throughout the year. Drew has been dealing with an injury the past 3 to 4 weeks prior to this week, and so we had the good fortune of getting a lot of reps for Cortez and Malachi and Donnie Glover, and all those guys have been getting reps at center for probably 3 to 4 weeks. They all got reps during camp. Malachi and Cortez have gotten some invaluable reps down with us in terms of scout reps, which I love. They get to go against really big physical people and practice against us, and they've kind of rotated down and back each week and gotten better. So I'm excited to see them have an opportunity to play.
If you have a question, please use the raise hand function in Zoom. Our next question will come from Anthony Dasher of UGA Sports. Anthony.
Hey, Coach, I'll stick on the center question. Have you decided on the starter yet for the game Saturday?
Again, that's not something that we're prepared to disclose right now. I think
Gotcha.
those guys are working and they're getting better. And good thing is we got 3 of them that are very capable.
How effective has Chauncey Bowens looked in practice this week?
Chauncey's been like he has the last couple of weeks, so he's been doing good.
Next question will come from Jordan Hill of Dogs 247.
Yeah, Kirby, just wanted your thoughts on what Ja'Cory has done down the backstretch of this season, stepping in for Kyron and just the job he's done.
Yeah, Ja'Cory is a veteran guy in our program defense, 4 years. He's been a really good special teams player. He's played a lot of snaps. He's played dime, nickel, safety, free safety, strong safety. He's one of the guys that's played 4 spots for us and done a tremendous job and continues to grow and get better.
Thank you.
And if you have a question, please use the raise hand function. We will call on you, and then we will ask you to unmute your line. We'll go back to Anthony Dasher. Anthony?
Hey, Coach, just want to ask about Bo Walker. To understand, he might have been in a car accident this week. Can you give any update on him?
Yeah, Bo's not going to be with us. He was required to have a surgery, so he'll be out for this game.
And just one more thing, Doug, when you look at Ellis Robinson and DeMello Jones, how have both of those guys progressed since the last game against Alabama?
I think those guys have progressed well since they arrived. Again, they both hit the weight room hard last year, got bigger, stronger, understanding our system, playing well, learning from Dalen. They continue to grow and get better. Dante's done a great job with them. Those guys are good football players. They love football. They're instinctive. They challenge people. They get to cover our wideouts every day in practice, which I think is a huge benefit for them in their growth.
And for those just joining us, if you would like to ask a question, please use the raise hand function. We'll call on you and ask you to unmute your line. So we'll now go back to Jeremy Johnson of On3. Jeremy.
Hey, Coach. Obviously, Zayden Walker's played a lot more over the second half of the season. What have you kind of seen out of him? And he seems good. It seems like he can do a lot of things for your defense. What's kind of the expectation for him over the next half of this season? Playing a bigger role.
He's grown up a lot. He's still developing in terms of his growth in our defense. He came from a high school that he was required to play a lot of different positions, and he didn't get always to play inside linebacker. So it's a position that he's growing at. He's got a lot to learn. He's growing. He gets reps on the scout team each day. He works really hard. He's going to be a good football player. He's been a good rusher. He's been a good third down guy for us. He's been a good special teams player for us, and he's gaining more confidence. And I think as he gains more confidence, he'll be able to contribute even more.
Thank you, Coach.
you have a question, please hit the raise hand and we will call on you. Coach, while we wait, just comment on what advantage, if at all, it is for players coming to the SEC championship game, having that experience. How is it different coming back a second time or a third time?
In terms of the experience for the players,
Yes, sir.
yeah, I think playing in the venue is a big experience key. I think having been in there with even the freshmen last week, but the guys that played last year, I always think experience is a weapon. So is talent, uh, so is preparedness, and all those things will be a factor in the game. But our kids have played in this game quite a bit, and they enjoy it, and it's really a credit, a reward to a season that was extremely tough and a lot of really tough games in the fourth quarter for both teams. So this is what it is. It's a chance to win a championship.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now go to Anthony Dasher, UGA Sports. Anthony.
Yeah, coach, historically for you, how do you what are the advantages, I guess, and disadvantages of playing a team a second time in the championship game as opposed to, maybe a team you've seen for the first time?
I don't know. There's no real advantages and there's no real disadvantages. Both teams have the same tape. Both teams have a common thread that we played each other. So it's not a huge advantage one way or the other. I don't feel like. I think it's sometimes coaches overdo it or overthink it, and I just think it boils down to who blocks, who tackles, who prepares the best, who mentally prepares the best, who handles it the best. I mean, I think we're both dealing with different injuries, and so there'll be a lot of next man up mentality in this game, and a lot of times that plays a role in it. Maybe it wasn't the same matchup the last time; it's a different matchup this time, and where that highlights or helps or changes for each team, who knows? We'll find out.
Yeah, you mentioned that, both teams dealing with injuries. With the league going to non-conference games, are you worried that may become even a bigger factor in future conference games?
It could, certainly could, but it's speculation. I think any coach will tell you that the 9-game season is going to be more wear and tear in terms of our conference for sure. And if rosters are tightening, which they are tightening, teams are going to have fewer guys next year than they had this year due to guys aging out and DSAs removing themselves and the portal stuff. That it's going to become harder and harder to have the depth you need, and maybe whoever does that best is at a competitive advantage as well.
Thanks.
All right. We now have a question from Katie Wyndham from Bama Central. Katie.
Yeah, hey coach. Sticking on the injury front, LT Overton was ruled out for Alabama last night. In that first matchup, he had 6 tackles, including that fourth down stop. Just kind of how does it change going against the Alabama defense without him available for them?
Well, first off, I don't know anything about what's going on with him in terms of injury, but I have a lot of respect for him. We recruited him out of high school. He's a Georgia kid. His dad was there at Bama while I was there, and I've known him for a long time and have tremendous respect for him as a player and competitor. So I wish him nothing but the best with everything he's got going on and his family that way as well. Um, for us, it'll just be next man up. That's what you do is coaches. You try to prepare for who's going to be there. Again, it's not something that we know how they're going to change things because he's not there. They got other good players. They've got depth just like we do.
Thank you, Coach. Again, if you have a question, use the raise hand function. We'll go back to Jeremy Johnson of On Three. Jeremy.
Hey, Coach. I just was wondering how, if there was any update on how Talon Taylor was doing in practice, and if there was any update on how Ethan Barbour is progressing from his injury. I know he has slowly been, you know, taking not on crutches and all that anymore. So, just what any update on his status?
No, he's just able to do more. He's able to, run. He's off the scooter. He's moving around. He did some indie, really light work in terms of getting back out there with the tight ends. But it's still a slow process for him. It was a significant injury. He's been in great spirits. I'm really proud of the way that kid handled things. He's been attentive. He's such a good energy guy and a great team guy. The way he's around the team and around walkthroughs and into things, and like wants to get out there and do it. Very eager to do it and get back and learn. So I appreciate the way Ethan has approached that. In terms of talent, he's done a good job. He did a good job last week in terms of working. He's trying to get back in the flow of things. That's important that you get back in the flow of things. It's not like you can just click your heels together and magically be back. He's got to do that from a stamina standpoint. He has to do that from a contact standpoint and from a confidence standpoint. So that's something that he's working towards, and he's done a great job of pushing and helping in practice, and hopefully going to be ready to do some things.
Thanks, bro.
Coach, we have a question from the chat. What would your message to the selection committee be regarding the overall strength of schedule and the depth of the SEC when considering the CFP field?
You know, I don't feel like I'm prepared. I wouldn't say qualified to speak on that because, when they changed what they talked about last year and it was more of a strength of schedule metric to be measured, I don't, to be honest with you, I don't know that we've seen that measure come out in their rankings. I focus so hard on what we control, and what we control is how we play, how we prepare. It makes for a very, very tough job and a tough selection, and it seems like we keep going through this each year, and we maybe have another year of it this year.
Thank you, Coach. If you have a question, use the raise hand function. We do have another one from the chat. Coach, you've participated in this game multiple times. What does playing in this game mean to you, and what has it meant to you in your career?
Well, I think it's been a great honor to play in it first. I mean, to win SEC championships are one of the hardest things to do. I mean, you look how elusive they've been, how few of programs have been able to win them across the SEC. That's a credit to getting to the game. It's even a bigger credit to win the game, and it's usually an indicator of a quality of team you have if you advance to the playoffs and get to play, or whether that back in the 14 model or this model in terms of the talent level of our conference, the number of teams that have gotten in.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now go to Colin Gay of the Tuscaloosa News. Colin.
Hey, Kirby. There was obviously comments made by Vanderbilt coach Clark Lee about them potentially wanting to play another game to showcase their worth to the College Football Playoff Committee. I'm wondering, is that something that you could see down the line of other teams wanting to play an extra game just to showcase their skills before a final ranking, or do you see that potentially happening more?
Not sure. Probably depends on what seat you sit in, right? So everybody on the outside looking in wants another game. And people would argue you had plenty of games. Everybody on the inside looking out say, I'm good. I'll stay right where I'm at. I'm okay. I played well enough. So, I think it's been talked about. I think it's, one of those things that was tossed around early on last year about the possibility of playing within your conference or cross conference to have some play-in games, which is nothing more than an extension of the playoffs. And you would play in from that perspective, but we'll still debate about who's in those play-in games and who would have the right to play in those games to advance and move on. But there was speculation about that early on, and I think there's coaches that think that's a better model because it gives their fan base something to hope for and wish for outside of the 12. Everybody's trying to get a piece of the 12, and it's very elusive. It's very hard. So, if it gives more people an opportunity, that's good for some. And there'll be those that probably would have made it in another year that might lose, that wish they didn't have that opportunity.
Perfect. Thanks.
Coach, we'll now go to Joe Gaither. Joe, go ahead.
Coach, how would you assess the mental aspect of this game with both programs, considering the history that's happened between both programs in this game?
I don't think these kids pay much attention to any kind of history because, their roster is almost as new as ours. I think both of us are averaging 34% new guys. we did play them last year in a classic game. We played them this year in a classic game, and then multiple years in this game. But I think it's pretty clear that each and every game has a history and life of its own, and you play the game that season with the guys you have and the mindset of the guys you have. So I don't think these other games will have any effect on this one.
Okay, we'll have time for a couple more questions. We'll start with Anthony Dasher. Anthony?
All right, Coach, ask you about Nate Frazier. Of course, he had the fumble the first time in the Alabama game, but since then he's kind of like he's become a kind of different kind of player, just the way he's kind of carried himself and going about things. What have you seen from him since that contest?
Well, I've seen it before that contest. I mean, I don't think you measure someone by one play or one mishap. I certainly don't measure him by that. He runs with great toughness, competitive fibers. I mean, he just competes. I love the way the guy practices every day and how much it means to him. And I mean, he's had good games and good plays since then, and he's had some that he wishes he had back. So does every good player. But I don't measure it from that moment to this moment. I look at it as a total season, and what a tremendous job Nate's done.
Thanks.
Hey, we will take one final question from Max Cohen from WAAY TV. Max?
Which, with what's on the line this week, how much does this feel like a playoff game?
Well, every game's a playoff game because for us, every game to this point would have probably taken, us out of the SEC championship game or out of the playoffs. So, I mean, your back's against the wall every week in this conference. It's not new to either team. So it's the next one, and you can't make it bigger than it is. It's a big moment. It's a chance for an SEC championship. And around our place, they put numbers up, in the banners in the hallways for when you win SEC championships. And that's significant to me. These kids, these players, they want an opportunity to win this conference. They mostly grew up around this conference, and they know how hard it is to achieve an SEC championship. So we want to be at our best, and we got a elite opponent to go against to do it.
Coach Smart, thank you for your time this afternoon. Best of luck. We'll see you on Saturday.
Thank you.
We will continue here in a few moments with Alabama head coach Kalen DeBoer. Again, we will lower all hands. For those on the Zoom, if you do want to ask a question of Coach DeBoer, ask that you use the raise hand function. We'll then call on you and ask you to unmute your line. We'll pause and continue with Coach DeBoer momentarily.
Without broadcasting.
Am I dead? Am I dead? We're now ready to continue with our press conference. We would like to welcome the head coach of the Alabama Crimson Tide, Kalen DeBoer. Alabama ranked number 9 in the country, 10-2, 7-1 in the SEC. Congratulations, coach, on your berth in the SEC championship game. If you have a question, please use the raise hand function while we wait for questions. Coach DeBoer, if you'll just give us an opening statement.
Yeah, you bet. Good afternoon. Our guys are excited about this opportunity. It's one of the goals that we have in our program, and once we state that goal, it's about the work that goes into getting to this point. But we're looking forward to what we know is going to be a hard-fought contest against an extremely talented, physical Georgia team, one that we respect a lot, and just looking forward to this challenge. They've certainly, from their aspect, had a great hot run here, playing really good football. And, our guys, I think, looking forward to this rematch from earlier in the season. It's been a while since we played them, but looking forward to this game over in Atlanta. Also want to note a couple things. CJ Mosley, our legend, excited to have him there representing our program. Great career here, great career in the NFL, 10 years there. In the NFL, he's been around campus a number of times, getting a chance to meet with him. Just excited about him representing us and what he means to this place. Two notes, also just from a injury report. We do have two players that have illnesses, medical issues, whatever you want to call it. LT Overton and Kelby Collins. They won't be available for this game. So with that, I'm open for questions.
Thank you, Coach. If you do have a question, please use the raise hand function. I will call on you, and then we'll need to unmute your line. We'll start with Colin Gay of the Tuscaloosa News. Colin.
Hey, Kalen. With LT being out, what do you, I guess, plan on, or who do you plan on inserting in that bandit spot? Kind of what's the idea there?
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, throughout the year, we've rotated a lot across the board on our team, but defensively in particular. And so, the guys that have rotated with LT and, fortunately, Quay Russo also, when you talk about the edge position, he's played the last couple games. And so, we'll get more reps for him. He's ready for it. Yanze will continue to ramp up his load. And so, we have guys that have played a lot of snaps that will continue to, just play the role that they've been playing. Maybe a few bit more snaps, that they'll get.
Next question will come from Charlie Potter of Bama Online. Charlie.
Yeah, Coach, just sticking with the injuries, where do things kind of stand with Jam, Josh Cuevas, and Cam Dewberry?
Yeah. Let's see, Jam, still questionable. We'll see here in the next couple of days. Cam Dewberry's coming along here as the week progresses. And Josh Cuevas, same as Jam, kind of see here at the end of the week. So, I know all those guys a couple of weeks down the road will be definitely good to go. But just kind of here, 1 week out from last week's game and some of the injuries that have happened, we're not quite sure yet. So they're coming along, working, doing everything they can.
Okay, we'll now go to Jeff Spiegel from ABC 3340. Jeff, go ahead. Go ahead,
Hey,
Jeff.
How you doing? Kalen, you mentioned in the post-game locker room after the Iron Bowl that there's a difference between hope and belief. How strongly does this team just believe that when it looks like the chips are down, they're going to get it done, and how important is that heading into this championship game?
Well, I mean, we've had enough opportunities, just like any SEC game, every single week. All these teams that you play as well are going to have the adversity. There's just too many talented players on the football field every single Saturday. There's going to be momentum swings, playmakers that can make plays. And I think what you really got to do is you got go back to what we've been talking about, working on since January, the training, and how that allows you to be physical on the football field, the stamina it takes, at this time of year. I feel like our guys are continuing trajectory up. They continue to get stronger. We have proof of that. We can see that, and they feel it on the football field. And then, there's a mentality that you're building, and some of it comes from the strength, and some of it comes from the stamina that these guys have, but it also comes from just a real belief that you have through reps that you've talked about. Situations from a year ago that we were in where we've had the chance to learn from them. All of our experiences that have shaped what this team is, and how we've come through, only make us believe even more, give us that much more confidence. And so time and time again, it might not always be the end of the game. It might be earlier in a game where you end of the half, a 2-minute drive, the way your defense gets a stop and the offense can go out there and put even just 3 points on the board, in our clutch period there. So just our guys, really, I think when you look at our team, it's a balanced team. It's a team that believes in each other. We understand our identity, being physical, tough, physically and mentally tough, and then also just winning the turnover margin. That's a big deal for us. And going out there and playing for 60 minutes, our guys are going to leave it on the football field.
Our next question will come from Seth Emerson of The Athletic. Seth.
Hey, Kalen. In terms of playing a team twice in a season, obviously you did it 2 years ago at Washington. And I think you did it. I went all the way back to Sioux Falls a couple times against Morningside, if I'm right on that. What are the dynamics there? And how does it matter in this game?
As a coordinator, also at Fresno State, we played 2 years in a row. We played almost back-to-back games against Boise State.
Right.
And this one's a little different because the game happened so much earlier in the season. Most of those that you're referring to happened late, and then within a couple of weeks, you were playing again. I think what you see between us and Georgia now, you see two teams that do what you need to do. You say it, but you do it. Doing it is the key, and that's improve each and every week. Learn from your mistakes. Understand your strengths. Develop players. There's new guys on both of our teams that are making plays that probably weren't as big a part of the game plan back in week 4, and so. That's a tribute to Coach Smart and what he does with his program, developing their players. And I know that's something we take a lot of pride in as well. So, you understand what that game was about, but you also understand more who you are now. There are things that you maybe tried or that, that didn't go as well the first time around that you learn a lesson or two from. But there's an identity now, and you still got to do what you do. But it has changed some because it's 8 games since we played that one. So both teams have continued to evolve. Both teams have continued to improve.
Our next question will come from Nick Kelly of AL.com. Nick. Go ahead, Nick.
Hey, Kalen, with some of the guys in the front 7 being out, what kind of role can Keon Keeley have, and how have you seen him develop throughout this season?
Yeah, guys like that, Keon continued to ramp up his role, someone who now, we've really put out there and have full trust in. And, he's got full trust and belief along with his teammates and what he can do for us too. So, all those guys are more than capable, and, they're going to get their opportunity.
Next question will come from Max Cohen of WAAY TV.
Coach, I'm wondering, with everything that's on the line this week, how much does this feel like a playoff game?
Well, we're just focused on it being the SEC championship and what that means to our program. You start the season, and this is best conference of college football, and to be playing in this game, I tell our guys they earned this. I mean, the home team, the number one seed. And so for us, they earned every bit of this opportunity. A great challenge ahead of us for sure. But man, this is what our program's been built on, is winning championships, and it starts with an SEC championship. And so, it's a long road to get to this spot, to be again 7-1, really 2 points away from being 8-0. And that's the way we look at it. And just guys are excited to go really try to attack one of the goals that we had from the beginning.
Next question will be from Katie Wyndham of Bama Central. Go ahead, Katie.
Yeah, hey, Kaylin. There were several times in the Iron Bowl where either the clock ran really close to running out or that y'all were forced to take timeouts. Just kind of how much freedom do y'all give Ty in changing the plays, making checks as the clock's winding down? Or is there kind of an ideal time that y'all would like him to or the offense to have the play set by?
I think a lot of it is when you're on the road and the environments, and we went 4-0 on the road, and I think that was probably a common theme, is the clock gets a couple seconds lower because the communication and the movement of the quarterback to have to really get up in each lineman's ear. You can't just say something and guys hear it. You got to give the signals, making sure and double checking to make sure everyone's on the same page. It does wind the clock down a little bit further. But he's got full, we give him full reign to get what he needs to get to. He's got a high football IQ, and we don't ever want him taking a snap that he's not comfortable with someone, not being on the same page with him. So that happens a little bit more on road games, but we do shift in motion. We do huddle. And we have the ability to play faster, but all those things lend to the play clock coming down, and that's part of who we are. We've won the time of possession, and I think our average is well over 33 minutes. That's team football, and controlling the football, taking care of it. That's what Ty and our offense do to help support the defense, and the defense, of course, doing their thing to support the offense.
And if you have a question, use the raise hand function, and we will get to your question. Next, we'll go to Joe Gaither of Bama Central. Joe?
Coach, given the recent history between both these programs, how do you assess the mental aspect of this game?
Well, you wouldn't have got to this pot if you weren't mentally strong, and again, I know what I believe in our team, and the mental strength that we have, and just how we feel like we can overcome whatever's in our way. And the things that come along with these 60-minute heavyweight fights. We understand it's going to be a battle, it's going to be a war against Georgia. It always is. But that's, again, we understand that they wouldn't have got to this spot if they weren't mentally tough and have that resiliency as well. So it's just too hard of a season to go through to get to this point. There's things beyond just executing. There's moments in games that you had to overcome, and you got two teams here right now that have done exactly that. Are the best in the country when it comes to it.
Next, we'll go to Anthony Dasher of UGAsports.com.
Hey, Coach, being that Alabama and Georgia are both dealing with some pretty significant injuries for this game, and the league going to 9 games next year, is there a concern that the injury situation may be worse moving forward for games like this?
Yeah, I mean, that's above me right now. There's nothing that I can do with controlling that. A couple weeks off after this game at the least will be extremely helpful for us. But right now, we're extremely excited to be heading over to Atlanta. I know where I'll be Saturday, and our guys will be fired up to play this game. But those type of conversations and things and decisions are certainly beyond me, and anything that I feel.
Okay, Coach. And next, we'll go to Matt Stahl of AL.com. Matt.
Hey, Kalen, are you expecting it to be a longer-term issue with either LT or Kelby, or would you expect them to be back for the remainder of the postseason?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get through these next couple of days here and kind of see. Obviously, Kelby's just popped up here too. I know LT's yesterday, so just trying to get through this weekend and kind of see where that's at, and we'll understand more details when that time comes.
Next, we'll go to Charlie Potter of Bama Online.
Yeah, Coach, I know this is a little off topic, but since we're all here for 30 minutes, just what do you think when people link you to the Penn State job and say that you and your family aren't happy at Alabama?
Yeah, we are extremely happy at Alabama. It's the first time I've been asked, so I appreciate you, Charlie. And we are extremely happy here. Love the challenge, love the grind, love this place. And there's never been any link. There's never been any conversation. There's never been any interest either way. And so I'm glad we can put that to bed right now.
Next, we'll go to Max Cohen, WAAY TV. Max.
But you've mentioned a couple times in recent weeks going back to that Florida State game and how the team's grown. I'm wondering from your standpoint emotionally what it was like after that game and how things feel now heading into the SEC championship and looking at the playoff.
Are you referring to the Iron Bowl?
Yeah, when you
After that.
you talked about after the Iron Bowl going back to the Florida State game and how the team's grown. I'm wondering, when you look back at the beginning of the season, emotionally from your standpoint, where did things look then and how do things look now?
Yeah, I mean, at that time, I knew that this is just one of those challenges. And, those are the things that when you've coached long enough, you've been through. Now you just got to do it with this team. And this particular team, I knew the character of it. I knew it just really had to hone in on the right things and keep taking the steps. Knew there was talent and knew there was guys that, were still, either coming back off of things where they weren't playing full speed and then they would get to that point. And there was also a lot of young talent that really we knew we were going to have to tap into and continue to develop guys that we were excited about, knew we had to have on the football field that could help maximize what we're capable of. But you're right. I mean, I think the mental piece, that's a lot of it. And again, that's what you go through in the SEC. That's what it will be each and every year. It will present itself in different ways, but it's what you got to overcome, and you got to be built for it. You got to be built for it to lead. You got to be built for it to be able to go out there and play. Our guys, had an edge, had a chip on their shoulder. A lot of the doubters that continue to maybe even doubt what this team is, even though we are in the SEC championship. These guys thrive in that. They thrive off of that because they know that they're capable. That gives them the confidence. They just know they got to continue each and every day to put in the work, go out there and keep getting better.
For those on the Zoom, if you have a question, use the raise hand function. We will call on your name and then ask you to unmute your line. Coach, we do have a question from the chat. This being your first experience competing in the SEC championship game, but certainly you've seen this game throughout the years. What have been your impressions of the SEC championship game as you've watched it through the years?
Yeah, this is the game. This is the one. When it comes to what you're trying to do, when you set out at the beginning of the season, you're first trying to get to this one. This is going to set up what lies ahead in the future with the playoffs. When you're asking the question, I think about going way back, small college days, playing a semifinal game, usually on this Saturday, enjoying that victory, knowing a couple weeks down the road you're playing in a championship, but going home that night and relaxing and watching this game. This was the one. All eyes are on the SEC championship this time of year.
Thank you, Coach. Now we'll go to TXAN 24 News. Go ahead.
Yes, Coach. How important is it for recruiting to still be on television and playing into December, whereas teams may not be on TV and using that as a recruiting mechanism?
Yeah, I think just generally speaking, I mean, our brand is, that strong, and we continue. I mean, the attention that you continue to get always helps. With the signing class, for the most part, being pretty much locked in now after yesterday, and there certainly will be more things as we get to the transfer portal and such. Yeah, it matters. I mean, because guys want to go to places where they can experience, this opportunity, go experience being the best at the pinnacle of college football. And so, this is a big deal. It's a big deal. A lot of eyes, and again, showing that we can continue on with the tradition, the pride of this program, carrying on what so many other greats, coaches, Coach Saban, and those that came before him, all the great players, what they've laid for a foundation that we can continue to build, continue to grow, continue to add on to the legacy of those that came before us. I take a lot of pride in that, and thankful to our players for what they've put into this season to make it that.
We have time for a few more. If you have a question, please use the raise hand function, and we will call on you and then ask you to unmute your line. And let's go to Joe Gaither of Bama Central. Joe.
Coach, how do you respond to maybe the narrative that Alabama has to win this game to stay in the playoff field?
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of hit on that, earlier in the week after our game, but it kind of blows my mind, as that's the exact words I used before, that we're really having this debate. I don't say that with any arrogance, because I understand there's a lot of good football teams out there, but we earned getting to this point. We're 4-1 against ranked teams. I mean, we're 2 points away from being 5-0 against ranked teams throughout the year. Every A4 team except for Wisconsin that we played this season, before, during, or after us, was ranked. And again, a 7-1 record, almost 8-0, 2 points from being 8-0. 4-0 on the road in the SEC, that jumps out at me. That's hard to do in the environments. Our guys have been tested, and just teams coming off buys. I mean, it doesn't matter. There's our guys have been tested, and we get to this point. We are playoff ready. We are focused on this game. We have not had one conversation about that, but we want to take care of business this Saturday and enjoy, again, the opportunity that lies right in front of us to play in the SEC championship.
We have time for a couple more questions. Coach, we do have one from the chat. What would your message to the selection committee be regarding the overall strength of schedule and the depth of the SEC?
Yeah, I mean, I hit on a few of the pointers just there. I think when it comes down to, let's just use the last week's game, a rivalry game. Not all 5 and 7 teams are built the same. A team like Auburn, and let's go again. I think we should be highlighting the games that we did win against the ranked teams. I already did that, but even last week's game, they were a team that I think they had 7 losses. All 7 of those games in the SEC were within 1 score. I think 6 ended up being 1 score or less, in all of their losses. And so again, when you talk about the SEC, what the grind is each and every week, it stacks upon itself. Just the toughness that it brings out in you and forces you to have. There's no league like it, and it's it's just something that's facts. And so to be at the spot where we're at, again, 7-1 in the league, 10-2. I mean, overall, just speaks to our football team and the quality of it. I think when I look at our football team and to really get into it, I see us as a balanced team. We have an offense and defense that play off each other. I mean, our defense is a championship caliber with any defense out there across the country, and our offense controls the football, takes care of business, comes up with the big scores. Last week, again, we put up as many points as really almost anyone did, and I'm just, again, using a rivalry game, using the last game we played, running the football. People have hit us on that, and people running the football, we've done it as good in the last 2 conference games as anyone else has, that have played. So I think in the top 3 in those opponents that have faced Oklahoma and Auburn. So I mean, we can go on and on, but I think you just really look at the league we're in, that we're in this game. It is what it is. And so we're going to love the opportunity we get to play on Saturday.
Coach, one final question from the chat. A lot of talk about the CFP rankings. What would winning a conference championship mean to your team to be able to lift that trophy on Saturday night? Does the conference championship still resonate with players today?
Oh, this is a huge deal for us. Again, all the questions that are getting asked about the playoffs. I mean, we are completely focused on the excitement of playing for the SEC championship because that's again the epitome of all championships and just excited about what this means to our program, how important it is, and wanting to carry on the tradition of what's been done in the past. Again, we know we got a great challenge with a really good Georgia team and a ton of respect to them. So that makes it even all the more worth everything that we're fighting for.
Coach DeBoer, thank you for your time this afternoon. Good luck. We'll see you here in Atlanta.
Awesome. Thank you. Roll Tide.
We will continue in just a moment with SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey. Again, we'll lower all the hands in the chat. If you do have a question for Commissioner Sankey, we'll use the raise hand function for him as well. We'll return here in a few moments with SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey. In just a few moments, we'll continue with SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey. He will give some opening comments, and then if you have questions, again, we will take your questions via the raise hand function. Please raise your hand. We'll unmute your line, and then you can ask your questions for Commissioner Sankey. We're now joined by SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey. We'll ask the Commissioner to make some opening remarks, and then we'll take your questions. Commissioner?
Thank you, Kevin, and thank all of you for joining us for this conversation. I'm going to start with some opening comments about our game, our conference, and a lot of what's happening around us, and look forward to hearing what might be on your mind. It's good to be in Atlanta. This is our 32nd time to host the SEC championship game here in Atlanta, our 34th game overall. My congratulations to Kalen and his team from the University of Alabama and Kirby and his team from the University of Georgia on earning the right to be here and play. I think we've heard from both. The competitive spirit is alive and well, playing for a conference champion and its meaning. I want to thank our hosts here at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, Arthur Blank, and the full team that works here provides an incredible experience for us, for our staff, for all that's done throughout the year to lead up to this moment, for the folks in the city of Atlanta, the Convention and Visitors Bureau here. It's just a wonderful weekend and a great tradition. I also want to take a moment that this is our 34th overall SEC championship game. It will be our first without two people who were near and dear to us. We lost Bobby Gaston. Bobby was an official, played at Georgia Tech when Georgia Tech was a member of the Southeastern Conference, led our officiating program for a number of years, and would always sit up in Suite 201. And we're going to miss seeing Bobby here. And we lost Mark Womack this fall. Mark's impact on SEC football, on the Southeastern Conference, and on this game in particular is special. I also want to recognize Bill Jenkins. Bill served at LSU in a key leadership role as chancellor there. Got to know Bill during his time in that role, and just a wonderful person. A reminder of how precious life is. On the outside of football side of things, proud to have captured the winning number of 9 games in the SEC ACC Men's Basketball Challenge last night. Great rally by our men's teams after we lost a bunch of close ones on Tuesday evening. Our women finished the ACC SEC Basketball Challenge this evening. We won 6 of 7 games so far. I also want to give a shout out to volleyball, which has experienced great growth. We held our first conference tournament in 20 years down in Savannah, Georgia. We had 2 teams earn #1 seeds in Kentucky and Texas, and wish all of our teams in the NCAA tournament well. Coming back here to Atlanta, College Game Day will be back on Saturday morning inside the Georgia World Congress Center, along with Fanfare. Today, we're wrapping up what we call the SEC Career Tour. We had over 30 current and former SEC student athletes visiting. We're almost at the 10-year mark of that event. We actually have young people now who've been working in the Atlanta area who gained careers from some of the introductions we made through the Career Tour years ago, now coming to build into the lives of their colleagues who are current student athletes or recently concluding their student athlete experience. We take seriously how we move young people from adolescence into adulthood and provide the platform for opportunities. And we thank Mercedes-Benz Stadium for hosting some of this educational opportunity, the Coca-Cola Company, Go-To Food, State Farm Arena, South Downtown Atlanta, and Chick-fil-A. They hosted our group, talked about making that transition from student and student athlete into the career world. In the football realm, during the season, 13 of our 16 teams were at some point ranked in national polls. I think one of the most notable statistics is our scoring margin was just over 10 points, actually 10.4 points per game. That's the scoring differential of our game. That's about 3 points below what has traditionally been the scoring margin. That was reflected in about 60% of our games going down to the fourth quarter. And a few years ago on College Game Day, I made a quip about Sesame Street and that one of these things is not like the other. This is a special conference with special competition, and we've had a remarkable year. That includes leading the nation with 13 non-conference wins over opponents from the ACC, Big 12, and Big 10. On the loss side, we had fewer losses in those same type of games, only 6 non-conference losses against those opponents. I can recall not that long ago when there was speculation about attendance this year, the 2025 season. Our campuses have set yet another all-time high mark for attendance at our football games with over 80,000 per game. It's a credit to the leadership on our campuses, our athletics directors and their staffs, what's done to create special atmospheres, the competitive nature that I just described of our games. It's also a tribute to the young people who choose to participate on our campuses in the Southeastern Conference. A couple of notes about some individuals. We announced this morning Vanderbilt's Nick Ronaldo is the SEC Football Scholar Athlete of the Year. Congratulations to Nick and to Vanderbilt on that honor. We have 2 finalists for the Campbell Trophy, and that will be determined or announced next week at the National Football Foundation event in Las Vegas. Trey Moore, a linebacker from the University of Texas, and Eli Stowers, a tight end from Vanderbilt. That leads into the recognition of the College Football Hall of Fame inductees. We have 5 alums of our current SEC member institutions to be inducted: Greg Carr from Vanderbilt, Greg Carr from Auburn, John Henderson from Tennessee, Michael Huff from Texas, Terrence Metcalf from Ole Miss, and then head coaches Urban Meyer, recognizing his career, including his time at the University of Florida, and Nick Saban, who obviously coached at Alabama and LSU as part of the SEC. I should have remembered Greg Carr since he provided surgery for one of my daughters. He's an Auburn graduate, clearly. And then lastly, on football notes, we're really proud of our relationship with Disney, with ABC, and with ESPN. We'll again be the most watched conference in college football. I think what we've seen, the remarkable interest on Saturdays, is we've been able to have noon, midday, and evening windows, whether those are games between conference-only opponents or between an SEC opponent and a non-conference opponent. Those have drawn remarkable interest. An SEC team played in 17 of the 20 most watched games so far this season, and 13 of those top 20 were conference games between 2 SEC teams. I think it's worth reminding everyone that last year, for the first time in over 40 years, the SEC on ABC won the Sports Emmy for Best Live Broadcast. First time that had happened in over 40 years in the college football realm. And as we look ahead, a week from today, next Thursday, December 11th, we'll announce the 2026 SEC football schedules on a special show on the SEC network. That will happen at 8 p.m. Eastern time. We announced the movement to 9 conference games next year. I know there's a lot of interest and excitement about those competitive opportunities. We've announced those opponents, but we're placing dates to those schedules. A significant fact or reality that need not be lost in the conversation about scheduling is, under this new format, every 2 years, our fans will be able to see their team compete against every other team in a 2-year period. And over 4 years, each of our teams will visit all of our stadiums, will visit all of our campuses, except for those neutral site games that we have. That's very different than the divisional scheduling model, where we had 12-year gaps between a team visiting. In fact, I've had some teams not visit since our prior expansion, and so that's a step in the right direction. Plenty of news around the SCORE Act, shifting from football. I was in D.C. yesterday, had productive meetings with lawmakers and members of the administration. I'll just flat say I appreciate the willingness of many on both sides of the aisle, in both houses, and in the administration, to continue to engage in conversation on the important issues present in college athletics. There was an opportunity to vote yesterday in the House. It did not happen. We'll continue in our educational efforts. We're going to take the time needed to try to address the questions that are being asked by members of Congress. And again, this is on both sides of the aisle. And the fact that there's so much interest, I think, is an indication of the serious nature of college sports, the importance to our nation, our culture. Yep, the opportunities for Olympians to be recruited to our campuses, to be developed as people and as athletes on our campuses, to be educated, to be supported, to be trained, to return to our campuses as part of the Olympic support program. We do that well. We don't simply put that on advertisements. We actually do that on our 16 campuses on a daily basis. We added over 1,200 scholarships since the NCAA rules changed in the Southeastern Conference, none of those in the sport of football, and over 60% of those to women's sports. That's about real support for women's and Olympic athletes. The issue becomes if we don't have some change around how athletics is structured and supported, and the need for national standards, which is something that Congress can achieve with us. It's going to be unstable in college sports for a long time. And I, again, think that the fact there are so many voices engaged in commenting, on asking questions, on reaching out, even in disagreeing, I think that is an indication of a high level of interest. And we won't step away from yesterday and say, well, we're not going to move forward. We're going to keep working in the right sort of way to educate, communicate, and see if we can achieve a positive outcome. Because fundamentally, when I meet with student athletes over and over, what our young people ask around the changes is the ability to perhaps at a football game, be across the line of scrimmage and understand that their competitors on the other side of that line of scrimmage are held to the same standards that they are on their side of the line of scrimmage. That's about not doing things on a state-by-state basis. That's about having, again, national standards, and we appreciate the interest. So with that, Kevin, happy to engage in conversation with the members of the media.
Thank you, Commissioner. If you have a question and you're on the Zoom, please use the raise hand function. We will call on you, and then we'll ask you to unmute your line to ask your question. Commissioner, we'll start with Anwar Richardson of orangebloods.com. Anwar? Go ahead, Anwar. All right, we'll go now to Jeff Spiegel of ABC 3340. Jeff?
Greg, with the advent of the nine-game conference schedule and the possibility of playoff expansion down the road, how valid is the SEC championship game and conference championship games as a whole, and how do you feel about the future of them?
I'll use the word embedded in the question, valid. I think you've heard from the two head coaches about the validity and the importance and the meaningfulness around our championship game. Others can certainly comment from their perspective. The interest in monitoring, fan interest through ticket sales remains strong. In talking last year with Kirby and members of his administration, the ability to be a conference champion, have a clear conference champion has meaning. So I do think there is validity. There has been validity. These questions about, wow, what does a conference championship game mean? What is its impact? Are not new. We can go back and re-rack the tape from the early 90s when the conference championship game in the Southeastern Conference, at least, was introduced, and plenty of commentary around the problems or concerns or questions, would you ever win a national championship? I think many of those have been put to bed over the decades. So I believe there still is validity, and hopefully those are reasons that illustrate the answer to the question.
And we'll go to Seth Emerson of The Athletic. Seth?
Hey, Greg. Obviously, we all know what happened with Lane Kiffin leaving one of your schools, which appears to be playoff bound, for another one of your schools. First, what was your reaction to that situation? And secondly, is there anything that should be done to prevent messy kind of situations like this, such as the SEC having some sort of rule about schools hiring another team's coach until its season is over, or something like that?
You have to go back a number of years. We had a rule about responsibility for outreach. If you're going to contact another coach, and our outside legal counsel suggested for antitrust reasons that be eliminated, which it was years and years ago. I think that's an illustration of the difficulty just legislating at a conference level. My reaction, and you asked me about a specific situation, we'll just back up. You can go find my quotes where I warned that an early signing period added in December would change the calendar and the timing of coach changes. I think now there are more factors involved. But in fact, going back to the moment where we added the December signing period, you saw earlier terminations of coaches during the season, and then the need to rapidly hire a coach in late November and early December. There are opportunities for adjustments to the calendar that, at least in my view, probably won't solve everything, but could provide a healthier environment. And where there are solutions so that you're not disrupting a team season, I think those should be pursued. Unfortunately, the environment we're in doesn't allow and hasn't resulted in some of the changes that even the basic change, like removing that early signing period from kind of compelling people to make change rapidly, has taken place. And that's how I view things. Can changes be made? Absolutely. Is it just the recruiting calendar? Likely not. Perhaps it's a competitive calendar that could be explored. But those are multi-level issues where people have different opinions. We've added a transfer portal on top of that signing period that adds to the complexity. But I think everyone would agree, and forget particular circumstances. You take a step back, and whether it's a roster or a coaching staff, looking at something other than maybe a medical emergency, we should be able to have competition through the year with those rosters and coaching staffs intact. And we ought to figure out how we can adjust collectively on a national basis to make that happen.
All right, our next question will come from Michael Casagrande from AL.com. Michael. Go ahead, Michael.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we've got you.
Sorry about that. Yeah, are you satisfied with the way the CFP chooses teams with the selection committee?
I respect that they've been assigned that. You use the word satisfied. So when you're me, you're never satisfied, right? You're always trying to figure out, well, I think there should be more. And I've had different views of outcomes over the years. This is an incredibly strong conference, an incredibly deep conference. We as a staff, I think, are thorough and effective at providing information through the agreed upon channels. And we respect that we have charged the selection committee with making those decisions. And, we'll see what happens on Sunday.
Is there room to alter that before the next in the next negotiations to change the way you guys select teams?
Is there room? We spend time in an annual analysis of the selection process and outcomes. Members of the committee later in the spring are available for dialogue with the CFP Management Committee. That produces questions. You saw the introduction of a different strength of schedule analysis and a strength of record metric that are used. I think it's important for us to understand how those are used to dig in more to the evaluation. I also think more about the metrics that are used and are those weighted properly. Those are things that can only be learned when decisions are made. But I look forward to that conversation. And is there room to make adjustment? We just saw that there were some adjustments introduced last year, and that would be an indication of yes, the process for agreeing upon those involves more people than only me.
Next question will come from Max Cohen of WAAY TV.
I'm wondering what your pitch would be to the committee for both of these teams to get into the playoff, regardless of what happens on Saturday.
I think I missed a word in there. I'm apologize. You said war and then and then I didn't hear the next word. So ask that question for me one more time.
Absolutely. I'm wondering what your pitch would be to the committee for both of these teams to make the playoff, regardless of what happens on Saturday.
Well, we provide that information directly, as I just indicated to Michael's question. I think the reality is these two teams have distinguished themselves. Alabama ends up the number one seed in our game because of our tiebreaker, the strength of that internal conference record analysis being where the tie was broken. Conference championship games have existed, and I don't think that the suggestion to the selection committee is it's their policy or their responsibility to determine whether they exist or not. They do. We're going to have two high-level teams that I think have earned their position in those rankings. We're going to look for a great game. The selection committee is going to make its decisions, but the strength of what both teams have done over the entire season has already been recognized by the selection committee, and I would expect will continue forward through Sunday selection.
We have time for a few more. If you have a question, use the raise hand function. We'll go back to Anwar Richardson of orangebloods.com.
Can you hear me?
Yes, got you.
Hey, Greg's kind of along those lines. From a Texas perspective, you probably have heard a lot of dialogue coming from Austin this week when they've talked about their strength of schedule, head-to-head wins that they have, playing in a conference as tough as the SEC, but still being on the outside looking in. I want to get your thoughts on maybe Texas as relates to the committee. They seem to be confused as to how things are being ranked, and maybe even to another degree, Vanderbilt as well.
No, as we start providing our information to the committee, obviously you begin with the thought that we have 16 teams that are eligible for selection. That narrows over time. When we began in the month of November, one of my observations is plenty of commentary about our schedule, and there's a lot of times, even with this 9-game idea, it becomes half empty, like you're going to have more losses, certainly. But there is a path for teams with multiple losses to the playoff, and we've continually re-emphasized that. I view that there are 7 of our teams at the conclusion of the 12-week the 12-game season over 14 weeks that merit inclusion in the playoff, but we entrust the committee to make those decisions. We make those presentations directly. I think we do a really effective job at sharing the why that those 7, as it is right now, merit inclusion. We even go into the top 25. I think if you look, and just off the top of my head, Missouri and Tennessee, I think because it was more recent in my review, Tennessee lost to 4 ranked teams. You can make an argument that they're just outside of that group. That's the kind of rigor that's present in our schedule. And that's what we reinforce over and over across the spectrum of our eligible teams, with the understanding that we have entrusted a selection committee to make the decisions about the participants. But this league is unique in its rigor, its expectations, its competitiveness. That scoring margin across the board applies. And I think that has to be considered with a different lens, perhaps, than some others.
Commissioner, thank you for your time this afternoon.
Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you all here in Atlanta for the SEC Championship game on Saturday. Hope everyone has a great day. Thanks for joining us.